1964, I had to make a choice. I came to a crossroads in life. I had one of those choices that you'll have to make throughout life. I could remain silent, which is what most folks did, and just not speak out on the issue. Or I could do what a few did, and that is side with the Ku Klux Klan and those of the violence. They claimed that they could elect you to office if you would join forces with them. Or I could speak out and take a stand. There was really never any question in my mind as to which course of action I would take. As county attorney, I had good working relationship with the FBI, who were in this area trying to solve the racial problem, trying to bring peace to a troubled society where violence was rampant. Bob Lee, the local agent, shared with me about 135 instances of violence, house burning, shootings, beatings, murders that had taken place at the hands of the Klan. I drafted a statement and encouraged the district attorney, sheriff, and mayor, and they joined me in condemning violence and asking our people to stand up against the Klan. Shep Dillard, who was district attorney, and I prosecuted cases where we had evidence against the Klan. And when Sam Bowers orchestrated the firebombing death of Vernon Damer just across the line from Jones County over into Forrest County, and the prosecutors from Forrest County called and asked if I would come and testify against Sam Bowers, I did so. I came and testified that Sam Bowers was a person, not a person who had a good reputation for peace and violence. That's the only thing I could testify. Bob Lee came to me and told me that the Klan had issued an order to give me a beating. My office was on an alley, and I stepped out each evening when I left the office into that alley. I later was fishing with a friend who had turned informer for the FBI. He had infiltrated the Klan. And he told me that he had often driven by our home at night after he had been out into the woods with the Ku Klux Klan, when they would open a Bible and place a sword and a pistol across it and talk about going out and burning the homes of black Americans, claiming to be white Christians. They were a violent group. He said he would come by to make sure that some of the crazies got whipped up in a frenzy and not come by to burn our house. We tried to leave our 4 young children with responsible people, with grown adults. In the early 1970s, the city schools in Laurel were integrated. My wife and I had 4 children. The 2 youngest, who were daughters, crossed the tracks, went to a formerly all-black school. And our older 2 children had the experience in high school of having integration and going to school with blacks. During the late 1970s, my son brought 2 schoolmates home every Friday when they were playing a football game. Chip liked to hit. And there was on the team his best friend, who was a white boy, who also liked to hit, and there was a young black boy who liked to hit. They came and ate a steak that my wife prepared every Friday before their home football games. I thought we were making real progress. And we have made we've made enormous progress. But then in some areas, I think we've had some regression, which I regret. Some people think that, and when I say that we've made enormous progress, think about this. Today, when I came here 6 years ago to swear in the 3 top officials of Boise State, they were all black. Black and white children go to school today. You know, back in the 50s, it was said that they had separate but equal, but they were not equal. The black facilities were far inferior. The equipment, textbooks they had were used textbooks left over. And retail establishments. Now you go to retail establishments and it doesn't matter whether you're black or white to get those jobs. Last time I checked, Mississippi had more black elected officials than any state in the Union. I served with Robert Clark, who was the first African American to be elected to the Mississippi State Legislature. He later wrote that many of the legislators would not speak to him, and mentioned the fact, was kind enough to mention the fact that I had spoken to him and been kind to him. Before he retired, he was elected Senate Pro Tem by a vastly, by a House of Representatives that was vastly white. When I retired from the federal bench, I went to work with a law firm in Jackson, half-time for 5 years, and the lawyer who occupied the office next to me was Barry Ford. Barry Ford was one of the most capable attorneys in the state. He was black. He was elected circuit judge in the northern part of Mississippi in a district overwhelmingly white. Johnny Dupree is mayor of Hattiesburg. Melvin Mack is mayor of Laurel. They're both white. Judge Johnny Williams and Judge Deborah Gambrell, both friends of mine, are elected chancery judges in a district that is white. In recent years, Mississippi has done its best to correct past injustices. Sam Bowers, that we've talked about, was prosecuted again in the late 1990s here in the courthouse at Hattiesburg and was convicted. And while his trial was going on, a petition was filed on his behalf asking me to recuse myself because they had filed a petition to stop the trial in state court. And they alleged that the Ku Klux Klan had fought me in every election since I testified against Bowers. But Sam Bowers was convicted, and he died in the penitentiary at Parchment. Byron DeLebeckwood, who was convicted recently in the death of civil rights activist Medgar Evers, died in the penitentiary. Edgar Killens, the Philadelphia Killens, was prosecuted and convicted. Numerous organizations are now promoting racial reconciliation in our state. I serve on the board of directors of Mission Mississippi, which seeks to bring racial reconciliation through the basic common belief in Christ, Christian principles. I was involved when Ole Miss created the William Winter Institute for Racial Reconciliation. In 1776, Thomas Jefferson penned those immortal words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That in order to obtain these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. But those words, as lofty as they sound, rang hollow with 1/5 of our population still in slavery. But our founders had charted a course that set out a principle that inevitably led to the abolition of slavery and eventually sounded the death knell for Jim Crow. Again, freedom won. And young blacks have paved the way. But, you have the people who paved the way. Barack Obama is President of the United States. Condoleezza Rice is one of the most respected women in the world. Eric Holder is Attorney General. Colin Powell, highly respected, led our military. Justice Clarence Thomas. And large law firms and corporations in America today desperately are attempting to locate young blacks who have prepared themselves for leadership positions. We've made tremendous progress. We've gained enormous ground. There's still a ways to go. I hear from my black friends that many in the black community still perceive that they face prejudice on a regular basis. Many in the white community have different thoughts. They perceive that blacks have been given equality and that they now seek preferential treatment. Some may be saying that now I have started meddling. I've gotten into a sensitive area. But we must face these issues. We must address them, or we can never be the state, the nation that we can be, that we should be. I'm disappointed that there's not more sensitivity, more recognition in the white community of the devastating effect of slavery and Jim Crow, and a greater willingness in the white community to lend a helping hand, to reach out. I realize that this is a general statement, and it does not apply to all whites. But I'm likewise disappointed that I don't hear or see more leaders in the black community taking a more aggressive stand, challenging young blacks to do their best to achieve, to become all they can become, and speaking out against the things that cause young blacks to fail or underachieve. Bill Cosby tried to do this, but he was roundly attacked by some in the black community and some whites who did not want to hear such. Some say that racial prejudice and bias is only harmful if it's held by a person who has power. That is a false premise. It is not true. While it may be true that a person who holds power can inflict more damage and more harm if he holds racial prejudice, any person who holds racial prejudice that prejudice is detrimental to society. And it is most detrimental to the person who holds that prejudice. Whether we're white or black, we all need to be more understanding, and we need to give each other more slack. There are issues that many of us will probably never agree on, and that's okay. But we do need to respect one another to be able to talk about these issues. All Mississippians, whether black or white, are in the same boat, and by and large, we will make progress together or not at all. Hopefully, we can paddle together. There are many problems that need to be addressed. Race makes it more difficult sometimes to address these issues. We need to address teen pregnancy. We need to address better education, which is not possible if there's not discipline in the classroom. We need to discuss crime, which is epidemic in our major cities, especially black-on-black crime. If we can address and solve these problems, life will be far better for all of us, regardless of the color of our skin. Hopefully, we can begin to address racial issues in general and specific problems, including those I have mentioned, in a positive and constructive manner. Dr. Martin Luther King challenged us in his I Have a Dream speech that we can reach the point where we can judge each person on the content of their character and not the color of their skin.